Billionaire pays $5 to a waitress to be his girlfriend for one day to fool his mom, but his mom says marry her. What if the person who changed your life was someone you were paid to deceive? Would you risk everything for a love that began as a lie? Like and subscribe to find out how love can rewrite even the most impossible stories. The clatter of plates and the buzz of conversation filled La Belle Epoque, an upscale restaurant tucked into Chicago's bustling loop. Katie Thompson, 28, moved through the chaos with a quiet grace, her chestnut hair pinned in a messy bun, strands curling against her neck like whispers of rebellion. Her hazel eyes, flecked with gold, sparkled with a warmth that disarmed even the grumpiest patrons. But they hid a storm of worry. As a single mother to 5-year-old Sophie, Katie lived on the edge of survival. Her paycheck vanished into rent for their cramped one-bedroom apartment, Sophie's asthma inhalers, and the occasional splurge on glitter pens for her daughter's endless drawings. Katie's dream was a bakery, a cozy haven of warm bread, handwritten menus, and the scent of lavender scones. She carried a tattered notebook, its pages crammed with recipes for caramel tarts and rosemary focaccia scribbled during stolen moments between shifts. The dream wasn't just for her. It was for Sophie, a promise of a life where they wouldn't dread the landlord's knock or count coins for groceries. Sophie was Katie's heart, a whirlwind of curly pigtails and questions, her laughter a lifeline. Through late-night shifts every evening, Katie tucked her in whispering stories of a bakery filled with love, even as unpaid bills piled up on the counter. Across the city, in a glass-walled penthouse at Top West headquarters, James Westbrook, 32, stood silhouetted against the Chicago skyline. His tech empire, built on eye-driven logistics, had made him a billionaire before 30. His name a fixture in Forbes and tech blogs, with sharp blue eyes and a jawline that graced magazine covers. James was Chicago's golden boy, but the Playboy label was a carefully crafted mask. Late-night parties and fleeting romances kept the world at arm's length, hiding the weight of his father's legacy, a shipping magnate whose death left James to carry the Westbrook name alone. He was brilliant-driven, but restless, haunted by a life he hadn't chosen. Beatrice Westbrook. James's mother was a force of nature, her silver hair swept into an elegant sheen, her emerald eyes sharp as cut glass. She ruled the family's old money fortune with a velvet glove over an iron fist. Beatrice had one mission: to see James settled with a wife who fit the Westbrook pedigree. Wealthy, polished, and poised, her matchmaking was a relentless campaign, a parade of AEs and socialites that left James suffocating. He craved freedom, but Beatrix's expectations were a gilded cage, every dinner and gala tightening its bars. Mia Torres, Katie's co-worker and closest friend, was a 30-year-old firecracker with a nose ring and a quick wit. She slung coffee and sarcasm at La Belle Epoque, her dark curls bouncing as she navigated the restaurant's chaos. Mia was Katie's anchor, babysitting Sophie during double shifts and slipping her snacks when the manager wasn't looking. She saw through Katie's brave front, always nudging her to chase her dreams instead of just surviving. "You're too good for this place, Katie," she'd say, her voice sharp but kind. "Get that bakery or I'll open it for you." Then there was Ethan, James's oldest friend and West CFO, a lanky 33-year-old with a dry sense of humor. Ethan was the only one who could call James out without flinching. He knew the real James, the one who stayed up late coding, not the playboy on tabloid covers. Ethan saw Beatrix's pressure wearing James down and worried his friend was losing himself in the fight to escape it. It was a rainy Tuesday night when James first slipped into La Belle Epoque, his tailored coat dripping as he claimed a corner booth. He was escaping another of Beatrix's setups as socialite, who droned about yacht charters over martinis. Katie served him her smile steady despite the ache in her legs from a 12-hour shift. She noticed the tension in his shoulders, the way his fingers drummed the table like a man trapped in his own skin. "Rough night?" she asked, setting down his coffee, her tone light but her eyes perceptive. James looked up, caught by her warmth. "You could say that. Family's a lot." Sometimes Katie nodded, wiping her hands on her apron. I hear you. My family's just me and my kid. But that's enough drama for a lifetime, he chuckled, the sound low and genuine, and something shifted. Over the next week, James became a regular, lingering over coffee or a glass of bourbon, their conversations stretching longer each night. Katie shared snippets of her life. Sophie's obsession with drawing rainbows, her own late-night baking experiments gone wrong. James listened, his guarded charm giving way to curiosity. He told her about his first failed startup, a coding project that crashed and burned at 22, and how he'd clawed his way back. Katie saw a man who'd fought for his place just as she fought for hers. On his 6th visit, as the restaurant quieted, James leaned forward, his voice low. Katie, I need your help. It's unusual. She raised an eyebrow, weary but intrigued. I don't do favors for strangers, even rich ones. He smiled, but his eyes were serious. My mother's on a mission to marry me off. I need her to back off just for a day, pretend to be my girlfriend. Brunch a yacht ride dinner at her estate. One day, $5,000 cash. The number hit Katie like a shockwave. $5,000 could pay Sophie's school fees, cover rent for months, maybe even buy a used event for her bakery dreams. But the idea of playing a role for a billionaire felt like a betrayal of herself. She thought of Sophie's latest asthma scare, the hospital bill still unpaid. The landlord's latest letter taped to her door, her notebook filled with recipes, sat heavy in her bag. Why me? She asked, her voice steady, despite the storm in her chest. James met her gaze. Because you're real. You don't pretend to be something you're not. I need someone who can pull this off without looking like they're auditioning for my mother's approval. Katie's mind raced. She didn't trust James's world. Glossy, shallow, built on appearances, but she trusted her instincts. And something in his eyes told her he wasn't playing her. She thought of Sophie sleeping under a blanket to thin for Chicago winters. One day she said, "Finally, no strings, no games, deal," James said, a flicker of relief crossing his face. She went home that night, her heart heavy. Mia, babysitting Sophie, caught the look on her face as she walked in. Spill, Mia demanded, pouring them coffee from a chipped pot. Katie told her everything and Mia whistled low. $5,000, that's life-changing, girl. But you sure about this guy? Rich people play by different rules. I know, Katie said, glancing at Sophie's sleeping form. Her bunny clutched tight. But I'm doing this for her. One day, then it's done. Mia shook her head, her voice soft. Just don't lose yourself in his world. Okay, you're too good for that. The day began with a sleek black car pulling up to Katie's apartment at dawn. She stepped out feeling like an imposter in a borrowed emerald dress that hugged her curves. Her hair swept into a loose braid. Sophie, waving from the window, clutched her bunny, her gap-toothed grin, a reminder of why Katie was doing this. James waited by the car, his navy suit tailored to perfection, his smile both charming and nervous. You look stunning, he said, and Katie's cheeks warmed, though she waved it off. Save the flattery, Westbrook, she said, sliding into the car. Let's get this over with. Their first stop was the Aviary, a restaurant where brunch was a performance cocktail served in glass globes, plates arranged like modern art. James played the doting boyfriend, pulling at her chair, his fingers brushing hers as he passed the menu. Katie Tenz first found herself relaxing as they traded stories. He told her about a disastrous trip to Tokyo where he'd gotten lost in a fish market and ended up covered in squid ink. She laughed, sharing how she'd once burned an entire batch of cupcakes trying to impress Sophie's preschool teacher. Their banter flowed, drawing curious glances from nearby tables, and for a moment, Katie forgot they were pretending. Midway through brunch, James's phone buzzed, and he excused himself. Katie caught a glimpse of the caller ID. Ethan, when he returned, his smile was tighter. Everything okay? She asked, her instincts sharp. Just work, he said, but his eyes flickered with something unspoken. Katie let it go. But the moment lingered a crack in their perfect act on the yacht gliding across Lake Michigan. The city's skyline shimmered under a cloudless sky. James leaned against the railing, the wind ruffling his hair. "My dad used to bring me out here." He said, his voice soft. He'd talk about the stars, how they were the only thing bigger than his dreams for me. After he died, I stopped coming. Felt like I'd lost him all over again. Katie's heart ached at the vulnerability in his voice. She touched his arm. A reflex. "I get it." Sophie's dad walked out when she was 6 months old. Every time she hit some milestone, first steps, first words, I wonder what he's missing. But then I realized we're enough. James looked at her, his eyes searching. "You're more than enough, Katie. You're incredible." She pulled back the moment to raw. "Don't get soft on me, Westbrook. We've got a job to do." He grinned, but his gaze lingered, and Katie felt a spark she couldn't name. As they docked, a crew member handed James a note, his face darkening as he read it. "What's that?" Katie asked, her curiosity piqued. "Nothing," he said, tucking it away. But the tension in his jaw told her otherwise. The final stop was the Westbrook estate in Lake Forest, a sprawling mansion with ivy-covered walls and a driveway lined with oaks. Beatrice greeted them at the door, her silver hair gleaming, her smile polite but guarded. "Welcome, Katie," she said, her eyes scanning her like a jeweler inspecting a gem. Dinner was a performance. James's arm around Katie's shoulders, their laughter polished but natural. Katie told a story about Sophie's latest art project, a lopsided clay heart that had taken over their kitchen table. James chimed in, teasing her about her own attempt at painting, which had ended in a canvas of smudged blues. Beatrice watched her expression unreadable, but a faint smile curved her lips. As dessert was served lavender panna cotta, a nod to Katie's recipes. Beatrice pulled them into the library, a room lined with leather-bound books and a crackling fireplace. "You two are quite the pair," she said, her tone measured. Katie braced for a lecture, but Beatrix's next words hit like a thunderbolt. "James, marry her." "She's exactly what you need." The room spun. Katie laughed, a nervous reflex. "Mrs. Westbrook, this is just..." Beatrice raised a hand, her eyes sharp. "I've watched my son charm his way through life, but this is different." "You're different, Katie. You're not here for his money or his name. You're real." Katie's heart pounded, her mind racing. Marry him. The idea was absurd. A leap from pretense to insanity. She'd agreed to a day, not a lifetime. James's silence didn't help. His eyes locked on her, intense and unreadable. Katie stumbled into the estate's garden. The cool night air shock against her flushed skin. Roses bloomed under moonlight, their scent heavy, but they couldn't calm the storm in her chest. Marry him. This wasn't part of the deal. James found her by a stone fountain, his face a mix of panic and something deeper, something that scared her. "Katie, I didn't expect this," he said, his voice raw. "But today it wasn't all fake. I feel something. I think you do too." Katie's chest tightened. She'd felt it the way his laugh warmed her, the way his vulnerability chipped away at her walls. But this was a billionaire, a man who paid her to play a part. "James, this was a deal. I have Sophie a life. I can't just..." "I know." He interrupted, stepping closer. "But I don't want to lose you." Not after today, she shook her head, tears prickling. "You don't know me. You know the girl who played your girlfriend for a day." "Then let me know you," he said, his voice steady. "Give me a chance to be more than the guy who paid you." Katie fled, the $5,000 already in her account, but feeling like a chain. Back home, Sophie slept soundly, her bunny clutched tight. Katie stared at the money. Enough to change their lives, but it came with questions she couldn't answer. Could she trust James? Could she trust her own heart? The next morning, Mia cornered her at the restaurant. "You look like you saw a ghost," she said, pouring coffee. What happened out there? Katie spilled everything the day. Beatrix's words, James's confession. Mia whistled low. His mom said marry her. That's next level. But Katie, you're shaking. You like him, don't you? I don't know. Katie admitted, her voice small. He's not what I thought. But his world, it's not mine. And Sophie Mia cut her off. Sophie needs you happy, not just surviving. If this guy's for real, maybe he's worth a shot. But you gotta know for sure. That night, Katie found a note slipped under her door, handwritten in James's neat scroll. Katie, I'm not giving up. Not because of my mother, but because of you. Dinner, just us. No pretense. You pick the place, please. Her heart raced, but fear held her back. She tucked the note into her notebook next to her recipes and tried to focus on Sophie. Meanwhile, James was unraveling. His penthouse felt like a mausoleum, cold and empty. He'd built an empire. But Katie's smile haunted him, her strength a mirror to his own buried desires. Ethan noticed his distraction during a board meeting, pulling him aside. You're a mess, man, Ethan said, his voice blunt. This about the waitress? James sighed, running a hand through his hair. She's not just a waitress. She's different, real, and my mom's right. She's what I need. Ethan raised an eyebrow. Then why are you here instead of with her? James didn't have an answer. He thought of the note he'd received on the yacht, a cryptic message from an old business rival hinting at a move against West. He'd kept it from Katie, not wanting to drag her into his chaos. But now with her pulling away, he wondered if he'd already lost her. The next month was torture. James texted Katie asking to see her, but she kept her distance, throwing herself into work and Sophie at La Belle Époque. Every clink of glass reminded her of that dinner. Every laugh a ghost of James's, she told herself it was over, that she'd done her part. But her heart replayed his words in the garden, the way he'd looked at her like she was the only thing that mattered. One night, Sophie caught her staring at the note. Who's James' mommy? She asked, her eyes wide. Katie's heart twisted. Just someone I met, baby. He's nice. Does he like cookies? Sophie asked, her logic simple. Katie laughed, pulling her close. Yeah, I bet he does, but doubt not at her. James's world was a universe away, private jets, boardrooms, a mother who could summon a marriage proposal like a royal decree. Katie's world was late-night shifts, hospital bills, and Sophie's crayons. Could they ever fit together? James, meanwhile, was fighting his own battles. The note from the yacht had been a warning. His rival, Victor Crane, was planning a hostile takeover of Westack, exploiting a loophole in their contracts. James poured himself into work, but his focus kept drifting to Katie. Beatrice called, her voice sharp. You're a fool if you let her go, James. She's not like the others. I know, he said, his voice tight. But she doesn't trust me, and maybe she's right not to. Beatrice sighed. Then show her who you are, not what you have. Inspired, James showed up at La Belle Époque during a quiet afternoon shift. No suit, just jeans and a nervous smile. The restaurant was nearly empty. The lunch rush gone. Katie froze, her heart pounding as he approached. A small box of glitter pens in his hand. A gift for Sophie. I'm not here to buy you, he said, his voice low. I'm here because I can't stop thinking about you, about us. I don't want to marry you to please my mother. I want to be with you because you make me better. Let me prove it. Katie's throat tightened. James, I have Sophie. I can't just dive into your world. It's too much. Then let me come to yours, he said, his eyes steady. No games, no deals, just us. She wanted to say no to protect her heart, but his sincerity cracked her resolve. Okay, she said. Finally. But you're on probation, Westbrook. One wrong move and you're out. He grinned, and something in Katie softened like a knot untying. Over the next 10 months, James became a fixture in their lives. He showed up at Sophie's school play, cheering louder than anyone when she played a talking tree. He spent evenings at Katie's apartment, helping with homework and laughing at Sophie's stories about her imaginary pet dragon. When Katie found a small storefront for her bakery, James offered to invest, not as a savior, but as a partner who believed in her vision. It's your dream, he said. I just want to help you build it. But it wasn't all smooth. Victor Crane's takeover attempt escalated. forcing James to work late nights, his stress palpable. One evening, he confided in Katie about the threat, his voice heavy. "If I lose West, it's not just my company, it's my dad's legacy." Katie took his hand, her voice firm. "You're more than your company, James. You're enough." Her words steadied him, and together they brainstormed a plan to outmaneuver Crane. Katie's practical mind a surprising asset. When James presented it to the board, Ethan shot him a grin. "She's good for you, man." Katie's sweet haven opened in the spring, its yellow walls glowing under string lights. Sophie's drawings framed behind the counter. On opening day, the line stretched down the block. Mia slinging coffee and Beatrice among the first customers, her approval quiet but genuine. Katie watched James hand Sophie a chocolate chip cookie, his laugh mingling with hers, and felt a warmth she hadn't known was possible. One evening, as the bakery closed, the air thick with the scent of vanilla and cinnamon, James pulled Katie behind the counter. Sophie was doodling at a corner table, her glitter pens scattered. He took Katie's hand, his eyes steady, a small velvet box in his other hand. "Katie Thompson? I love you," he said, his voice breaking. "Not for show, not for anyone else. I want to build a life with you and Sophie. Marry me." Tears spilled down Katie's cheeks. She thought of the years of struggle, the nights she doubted herself, the love she'd never thought she'd find. She looked at Sophie, giggling over her crayons, and at James, who'd chosen her world over his own. "Yes," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion, "but only if you keep doing the dishes." He laughed, pulling her into his arms. The ring, a simple band with a single diamond slipping onto her finger. Sophie ran over, wrapping her arms around them both, and Katie knew this was home. 2 years later, Katie's sweet haven was a Chicago institution, its tables filled with regulars who raved about the lavender scones and Sophie's art gallery on the walls. Katie and James were married in a small ceremony in the bakery, surrounded by Mia, Ethan, Beatrice, and a handful of loved ones. Sophie in a flower crown tossed petals with glee. Beatrice, now a doting grandmother, spoiled Sophie with books and baking lessons, her once stern demeanor softened by love. Their life wasn't perfect. There were fights about James's workaholic tendencies, Katie's stubborn independence,